You're listening to the Casting for Fun podcast, the show that talks about entertainment, sports, music, and inspirational stories for all to enjoy. We're glad you could join us today. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now, here is your host, Albert Pineda.
Welcome, everybody, to a special Thursday episode of the Casting for Fun podcast. I'm your host, Albert Pineda. This episode is going to be released instead of its usual Tuesday date. It's going to be released on Thursday, February the 9th, 2023. So I'm really excited that my good buddy Eddie Ramirez is returning to the show to discuss DC comic news, movie news, and TV news. He's one of the most foremost experts when it comes to DC stuff. So I'm grateful I have Eddie on the show, and we have a lot of fun discussing that. We also get to discuss the return of King of the Hill, which I'm really excited about, and Eddie is as well. And we get to reflect on or talk about the potential trailers that we're going to see this coming Sunday for the big game for the Super Bowl. As you know, I love the Super Bowl. I love everything about it. The game, the commercials, the trailers, eating yummy food. Halftime, I can take it or leave it sometimes, but it's usually entertaining, even if I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the particular artist performing. In this case, it's Rihanna. But anyways, yeah, Super Bowl Sundays is Sunday, and I'm looking forward to that. And this is going to be a really fun conversation with Eddie and I talking about stuff we love and the movie news that recently broke last week with DC Studios. So here we go. This is my conversation with Eddie Ramirez. Joining me tonight on the Casting for Fun podcast, returning for his, I think, like 8th or 9th episode on the show. It's Eddie Ramirez. Eddie, how are you doing, my friend?
It's the monthly event where we rejoin. Yes. I'm doing good.
Very good, very good. Good to see you again. First time technically for 2023. So I hope the year's been good to you so far. We're only, again, 6 weeks into the year, but I hope it's still been good.
It's been good so far. And, with the little Valentine's next week, the wifey and I get to have a little extra fun out and about, celebrate some of that love.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, I hope you guys have a great time. So yeah, there was definitely a ton to cover. Last week there was the big news that broke with everything that James Gunn had officially revealed on his Instagram account, and DC also posted the exact same video. So there's a ton of DC news to go over. Mm-hmm. Plus, I think it's actually would be good to even talk about everything that's happened since the end of 2022, because there's been, some controversies with decisions DC's made, whether it's good or bad. There's definitely fans talking about it. So I think it's actually a really good talking point to go over.
I agree. There's DC, for better or worse, has a lot of details we got to just kind of filter through, and just it's a lot of high grass. We got to start picking out see if we can find some gems in all this, because I have some good and some bad, man. Like, just it's all subjective, right? And there's some decisions where I'm like, wait, what? Versus, I guess I'll be patient. Let's see. And then there's some exciting stuff that, whoa, I didn't see that coming. So
whole just like tons of emotions, up and down roller coaster with everything they've been talking about. So
yes, sir.
And then along with DC news, I mean, the really exciting news that I know you're excited about too is the return of King of the Hill that we speculated on last summer, and it's official.
Dude, I remember we talked about it. So the fact that it's actually coming back on Hulu, it's gonna be good.
Oh yeah. And then last but not least, I definitely want to go over with you the Super Bowl, particularly the trailers we're going to be seeing. As we see every single game here, there's big trailers, big new stuff to see. So it's actually going to be a lot to just kind of speculate on as to what we're going to see this weekend.
Yeah, man.
All right,
probably as much to say as the DC stuff, if anything, what we might see and who will see in these trailers.
Okay, yeah, for sure, man. Okay, so let's jump into it, the DC news. So going back in the timeline a little bit. So it was October of 2022. The Black Adam movie comes out, and I know we talked about that extensively, how cool we were going to how much we were excited to see that movie. And then sure enough, we get the Henry Cavill cameo, and for all intents and purposes,
rumors were true. He has returned.
Yeah. And then media outlets, entertainment outlets, everybody's reporting, yes, he's back. He's back in the fold. He's going to be
video. Back. Yes,
yeah.
I'm back. I mean, that was like icing on the cake, right?
Yeah, but then all of a sudden we get the news that he just came out of left field that James Gunn and a gentleman by the name of Peter Safran, I'm not sure who he is.
Peter Safran. He's one of the major producers of Warner Brothers.
Oh, okay, yeah. So the two of them together were going to be serving as the co-CEOs of DC and film division moving forward.
Yeah, DC Studios officially its own entity, just like Marvel Studios. They only answer to the big honcho over there at Discovery Warner.
Oh yeah. So in essence, it sounds like it's a really cool idea, but then we get a lot of the backlash where all of a sudden they're recanting that. They're saying no, Henry Cavill is not back. That Wonder Woman 3 has been canceled. That Patty Jenkins is gone, and that could have been, I mean, for certain fans, that might have actually been the good news. Depends on your point of view.
Yeah, I agree. If Wonder Woman 2 was subpar to you, this was good news.
Yeah. So what did you think, Eddie, when you heard the whole thing of James Gunn and Peter Safran taking over, and I guess the litany of controversy that we were getting towards the end of 2022?
Right. So I'll first start off with Peter Safran, right? I was not familiar with him. So when I first saw his name, I'm like, okay, who is Zaslav, which is the head honcho over there at Discovery Warner?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's this guy? Why him with oh my gosh, I'm brain farting on who is the other co-CEO?
James Gunn.
James Gunn. Why? I have no idea why he just left my brain for a second. So, okay, why 2? Why not 1, right? And then I started seeing like how he was part of a lot of producing. He was part of, even with the Marvel Studios, he participated in a lot of the executive decisions there, like for WandaVision. So this guy has a big list of movies that he's been part of, and actually good movies. He was part of Aquaman, that movie. So that made $1 billion. So this guy behind the scenes is like the administrative money guy. He knows what to approve, what budgets to allow, what is worth the investment, what is to maybe we should cancel or send this back into the production stage and get it going. So he's that management type guy. But the creative then becomes James Gunn, which he got a dip in the water of Suicide Squad and then with Peacemaker. So he got to get into the whole DC mindset. Like, okay, with the backlash at that time, we'll go back like a year and a half with the whole Disney thing where he was fired for a moment. And then he goes to DC to kind of bounce back. That creative freedom just showed like, look, I can do more than just Guardians in the mainstream. I can do these random characters from DC and elevate them. We don't need Will Smith. I'll get Idris Elba and we'll make a better story that's more like in the mix of what we know as Suicide Squad. So putting them together to me was like, whoa, okay, this is a really good dynamic. And they're the leader of DC Studios. Up to that point was, wow, that means he can really help make a Henry Cavill good movie, or Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman 3 will be good. So that was the initial like excitement. Then we start getting all the little rumblings. If you're just reading, like the outlets, and if you're in it enough, Patty Jenkins issues with the script, what's going on there. Still no announcement with Henry Cavill. What's going on there? No new news of anything. They're very quiet about the Ezra Miller stuff. Where's Ben Affleck? There's nothing more. It's all quiet. And then it becomes official. Patty Jenkins leaves because of script decisions, creative decisions. For better or worse, I think it was the right decision because she wanted to go forth with the script that supposedly was an immediate continue off from Wonder Woman 2. And most people were not receptive to that script because it was very disjointed. And as the announcement that we'll talk about with James Gunn, he literally says Warner Bros. Was very disjointed. And it showed in all of it. I think people that were fan of DC, we needed this kind of reboot of like, hey, let's start connecting things. So that was my initial feel like, okay, these guys are going to start shaking it up. But I mean, what did you feel when like you hear Patty Jenkins like leave and then the whole Wonder Woman movie probably up in the air now?
Well, to be honest, I thought it was a good call to go ahead and remove her if it wasn't going to work out just right. So obviously there had been issues before with Patty Jenkins and other studios. Like if you remember, she was actually penned to direct Thor: The Dark World for Marvel Studios. And then she left over creative differences. What exactly was the issue? I don't know. I do remember reading that Natalie Portman was really upset when she found out that she was getting the axe. But anyways, regardless, we still get Thor: The Dark World. And Thor: The Dark World, I know it's kind of a diverse movie with the director they did get, Taylor, I forget his name. I guess he done mostly Game of Thrones episodes. But so there has been instances of like contention where Patty Jenkins is kind of like butted heads with studio execs and hasn't gotten I guess the movie she wanted to make. But again, from what you mentioned, if she was going to make the movie that she wanted to make, if it's based off of what we saw with 1984, then yeah, it's probably best that they move on from her. I still would like to see Gal Gadot remain as Wonder Woman. I don't know if she will, though. I just we'll have to just wait and see what's going to happen with that.
Yeah, we still don't know.
Yeah.
And and then the whole Henry Cavill thing. I mean, this was a rumor that, hey, he's going to appear in Black Adam. Black Adam was going to have this end credit scene, supposedly, or maybe he'll appear in the movie. Will Shazam maybe appear, to do like that whole trio? Oh, maybe that's why they switched Shazam to be after Black Adam, because originally it was supposed to be before it.
Yeah.
So maybe like, was James Gunn part of these reshoots? Like, and we find out, no. This was all James Gunn just, let this all right out. We're going to have all these movies, like Blue Beetle and The Flash, whatever's already set in stone. Let's just ride these out. But what does that mean for the DCU? And as we know, we got a whole announcement.
Yeah. And I want to jump into that announcement now. So the timing of the announcement was kind of interesting. To be honest, Eddie, I think I would have made that announcement as soon as they announced that Gunn and Safran were taking over. In fact, I know like DC, they usually do their DC Universe thing, right?
Fandom.
Thank you. The fandom, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, so where they do a whole almost a day's worth of like panels and stuff online where they talk about stuff like that. I guess last year it was officially canceled, but I think they should have done something where they can actually extend a hand of good gesture to the fans and say, hey, we're making some changes and this is what's coming, because it almost kind of seems to me that this video that was released under Gunn's and DC's social media account was maybe like in response to the negative fan reaction they were getting. So I think maybe just to come clean and say, hey, this is what we have planned. We know, bear with us. We're going to get this. We're going to right the ship. We're going to get things going. Just bear with us as we move forward. And this is our detailed plan as to what we're going to do.
Right. And I understand the sentiment of where you're coming from a point of view of that announcement could have come sooner. I will say to that, I don't think you could have done it sooner, only because I think once they officially inherited what they had at hand, they realized like, oh man, we have a lot of conversations and meetings we need to have before we say anything. And one of the things was, the conversations with Gal Gadot. Then he had to have a conversation with Henry Cavill. Then they had a meeting with Ben Affleck. Then they had to have another meeting with James Momoa. And you start realizing before this announcement at the end of January that I think out of respect, right? Like, let's go ahead and let them know their futures. And maybe because they didn't have their full plan set out just yet. But I do agree that some sort of announcement, even if it wasn't what's the plan going forward, in terms of like, here's our DC universe, like that part of the video, I do agree that maybe an initial plan of, hey, we're excited to start, beyond a tweet that he did, to say like, we're going to start going through all the current crop of DC production, current crop of DC films that are in editing mode. And we look forward to announcing more. We're going to start having meetings. It's we don't need to know their ins and outs. Obviously, they don't always that. But I felt they could have at least hinted something like, aside from looking forward to the January, maybe like give us something to kind of feel a little rest assured things are going to be all right. I think something along those lines for sure could have been done. But maybe because of the whole Black Adam thing, and then the whole Henry Cavill and saying that he was going to be Superman, I think that's what maybe pushed back announcements. Because if you think of it from a PR standpoint, Henry Cavill just put himself out there. How do we not make it look embarrassing for him. The way, to me, it comes off, man. Like, this guy was out there in the lion's den, and the whole world thought one thing, and 2 weeks later, we hear, nope, you're not. I mean, that's like, ouch.
Yeah, so that's actually a really excellent point, Eddie, that you just brought up, because I'm wondering if, like, for whatever reason, if Gunn and Safran weren't technically allowed to have those conversations with Cavill and Godard and Affleck until they officially took over on their date, which would have been November 1st of last year.
Right. I think so. And when did Black Adam come out? That was October, right?
October, yeah. So like a few weeks before they officially took over.
So they couldn't do anything. They had to take bullets, and I think that's what it was. It's like, if you're sweeping under the rug, as old WB, right? They didn't really know how to handle things. Imagine lifting that rug and you realize, oh my God, look at all this mess. And now it's like, how do we address this without, tempering the emotions of fans? Because, there's gonna be fans you can never please, no matter what they do. But for the majority that watch DC, Henry Cavill is pretty much like a lot of people's favorite Superman. The modern Superman is him.
Oh, absolutely.
And now you're not going to have him. And it's like, why? And we still kind of don't know why. I know he gave an answer for it. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but it's just, it was a lot all at once. And I think they realized, Safran and Gunn, man, we're really going to have to push back this announcement until we talk to all these actors.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, okay. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the video itself. So the video that they released about a week ago now was just chock full of like really great, interesting information. So we're going to start from the beginning. They first illustrated and discussed the fact that Matt Reeves' Batman, which I know you're a huge fan of, Todd Phillips' Joker, which you also love, and the Teen Titans Go are going to exist as they are now, but they're going to be officially separate from their canon. So they won't be involved with that, but those projects are still moving forward with their various installations, which is really cool. So we'll get to see more of the Bat Reeves universe, which I think it's going to be really exciting. In fact, they didn't officially announce it yet, but I think the Penguin show on HBO Max should be coming out relatively soon, maybe later this year. Which would be really cool.
They're actually, I believe they were already in filming, pre-filming.
Oh, okay.
So, but they put it on a pause, I guess naturally with all this transitional stuff. But they actually resumed after Matt Reeves had met with James Gunn and Safran.
Okay.
That, hey, your stuff is still good to go. Don't worry about it. We're going to put you in this thing called the Elseworlds. So allowing directors to do independent stories of the same DC characters, but not tied to the DC universe. And it'll have its own proper label. So when audiences like outside of you and us and who are really into it, the general audience who doesn't pay attention to the details like this, they'll know like, oh, Elseworld, what does that mean? Oh, this is a DC movie, but it's an offshoot. It's its own thing. Which is nice because I'll allow directors to do movies like the Joker or Batman without feeling like they're bound to connect to Aquaman or whatever, Swamp Thing, because that, we don't have to worry about that too much. So it's a nice perk.
Oh yeah. In fact, I can't help but think that maybe Patty Jenkins would have preferred something along those lines. That maybe that was kind of the issues with the script she was putting out, or you could just argue that her script just wasn't good to begin with. It's up to you, whatever you decide.
Yeah, I think it's probably the latter.
Yeah. Okay, so we find that, I mean, we know that Gunn and Safran are essentially inheriting 4 movies that were already in post-production by the time they took over their position. Those 4 movies being Shazam, The Fury of the Gods, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman 2.
Yes.
So those movies are very interesting. In fact, I mean, as I mentioned before, I'm really excited for Shazam because, I mean, I thought the first one was great. The Flash is going to be really interesting. So this is going to potentially reset everything. This is going to be maybe the catalyst of what actually changes everything moving forward with the Flash. Right. And also what's kind of interesting too, there was a report I read in Variety about a week ago that said Safran is actually, I guess they're high on Ezra Miller. They really want to try and give him a chance. So I heard he's in the process of rehabilitating himself. He may actually still move forward with additional movies. We'll have to wait and see, even though it kind of seemed to me like almost a year ago, like Warner Brothers were just desperate to get rid of him, but they couldn't.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like the Flash in and itself is like a whole episode at this point with everything, like. But just to surmise, like what you were saying, yeah, like in the recent interviews that they did at the conference on the 31st of January, they had a private conference for the media, and in there, yeah, they did address the whole Ezra Miller thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he is in rehab. He's been in rehab for I think like 4 or 5 months. So they give the positive notes of like, oh, he's going through it. We'll leave the door open, right? Nothing confirming yes or no, but they said it's too early to say right now. Let's just leave it like that. To me, I feel that's a PR because they don't want more negative press. Because if you were to say, Ezra, yeah, we're open to have him. You know how many people are going to say, this guy choked a woman in public and raided a house, and you're going to give this guy a chance? No way. That PR, when DC is so very like sensitive right now because new changes, you already had semi-bad PR with the Henry Cavill thing and everything going on with that. Mm-hmm. They need to start trying to like brush that off until the Flash movie. And even then, I don't even think, I honestly think Ezra Miller is not going to be the Flash. I think they're just PR to kind of keep the flames down, because they're all basically saying, let's just get these movies out, especially the Flash. And then once the Flash is finally behind us, we can announce because of the Flash movie being a reboot, and to serve the story best, where Ezra Miller will not be recast. It's going to be a new one. I bet you that's what's going to happen. I think this is all PR to the point where Ezra Miller, I don't even think he's going to be at the premiere. I think he'll just do like a video to kind of how he did at DC Fandom a year ago. Mm-hmm. So like, hey, we're doing this. I'm very proud and all that. One of those movies, and then just move on.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that's kind of what we see. I mean, I don't mean any disrespect to the guy,
right?
Especially if he's trying to get his life back on track, good for him for that. But it just seems like I think it'd be best for all involved if he just moved on. But
right, I think it's better for his career and for the studio.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things. Kind of like the Johnny Depp thing. It's kind of one of those like, let's just separate for a while and maybe down the line.
Yeah, exactly. So let's jump into the new announcement. So this was really cool. So all these projects, as far as I can tell, as far as I know, they were all brand new announcements for projects that they're working on now that James Gunn is going to have a hand in several of these in writing or directing himself. So first with Creature Commandos. I'm not really familiar with that one, but again, I guess it's going to be written by James Gunn. It's going to be an animation on HBO Max, but he did specify in the video that animation characters and live action would interchange, so that we would have same characters doing voices in animation and playing that character in live action, and the
actors will be
in animation would also appear in live action too, which is a really cool, exciting prospect to think about.
Yes, definitely. I think that's part of the whole message of keeping things consistent and not disjointed. I think that's one of his ways to separate things from the old regime.
Yeah. The Waller TV series with Viola Davis returning as Amanda Waller. That's going to be really exciting and cool. Because I mean, I've loved her as an actress. I think she's really great. And it kind of could be an example of like, yes, we like certain people from the old guard. We're going to keep her on board. And as we saw, I mean, she did obviously appear in the Suicide Squad. It was an integral part of that movie as well.
Right.
So it seems like that she's good to go for quite a while now.
Which says that maybe the Flash will create variants, like, oh, this is not exactly the Amanda Waller from prior movies. Now this is Amanda Waller. Yeah, she looks the same, but little different because of the Flashpoint movie. So I'm really curious how they're gonna explain how some actors get to reprise their roles of the same character. That's gonna be one of those things where I look forward to finding out why that Amanda Waller is still there. Plus, the show sounds really cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then next we move on to Superman Legacy. So they officially announced it for July 11, 2025, written by Gunn. I'm assuming directed as well, or maybe there'll be a different director attached to the project. But It's difficult, I guess, to tell what the movie's going to be about at this point. I don't know if Legacy gives any clues or hints as to what it could possibly be about.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you think? I got something, but what do you think? Do you think literal legacy, like kid, he has a child, or is it like more of like legacy? Maybe he's been there for years, and now what does my legacy represent?
I'm thinking the latter, how you mentioned that, like the legacy of Superman himself. So, yeah, to be honest, I haven't read the Superman comics that closely, especially in recent years, but my understanding is there's lots of really good material they can draw from as far as like, the history of like Superman himself as a character.
I think they're gonna perfect what Superman Returns, that one that came out in 2005 or whatever it was.
Oh yeah,
how he like left to Krypton and then he comes back. That was kind of part of that story.
Yeah,
I think I think that's where the story is gonna go a little bit and show why, like maybe he didn't go to Krypton. I don't know. Like at the end of it, we don't know, right? But maybe something like that where they'll finally show like my legacy moving forward. What is it? What do I represent? And they did mention the Superman theme of this movie. The theme that they're going with is, like humbleness, kindness is old fashioned, and Superman has to figure out, because he's that lighter tone character. Does he have a place in this world that is more pessimistic, who looks at you like, you're too nice. We don't like you. Like what is his legacy going to be? Does he have to be gritty? Does he have to kind of get gray, and kind of hit those morals? So I'm wondering if that's what the movie is about. Like, what his actions is creating his forever legacy at that point.
No, that's a really good point to consider. Absolutely, yeah. The Lanterns with Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart co-headlining, which is pretty cool. Pretty exciting to see that. Which will be an HBO Max show.
Investigative.
To do justice to the Green Lantern character would be fantastic.
Finally.
Yeah. So really excited for that. And the way he described it too, that it was going to be, I guess, like a True Detective inspired show, like where they're like their whole precinct is all of planet Earth, which would be really, really exciting, I think.
I like that. It's like, okay, humans, you know your spot. This is your side of the galaxy. Keep an eye on this one. But they also mentioned in it that in their story, by the end of it, they discover something that's a major plot point to explain the rest of chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, because I guess we're going in chapters, right? So and this is everything released wasn't even the full worth of content. He said this is just part of the first chapter, and what they discover is something major in this chapter that's going to affect the rest of the content. So that's pretty cool. Like whatever that is, maybe it's the life equation. I think it was. Remember how in the Snyder Justice League, Darkseid was looking to have like something that was on Earth. I think it was like called the life something.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So maybe that, who knows?
Yeah, it should be really, really cool, really exciting. I think that was kind of one of the projects that was most piqued my interest, to be honest. That one and the Batman one, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
The Authority film. I'm not really familiar with this. It was from, I guess, is it the Wildcat Studios? Is it like a separate division of DC? Some characters from that? Is that right? Or
so it's all under the DC umbrella, but kind of like sub studios that they kind of allow the licensing of characters to be explored. Okay. And then they just kind of do their own thing.
Okay, cool. So we'll see with that one. That should be pretty.
But that one, they did say that this was actually these characters actually inspired the boys.
Cool.
So they're actually like more of that hardcore superhero where it's very black or white. We're gonna do things to keep you safe. Meaning, if we gotta kill, we gotta kill. If we gotta do this, we gotta do this. So what are the consequences of this team out there with a Superman? That's pretty cool.
Awesome. Paradise Lost. So a TV show on HBO Max that's dealing with Themyscira. So that should be pretty cool. So more focus on the Amazonians, which I think will be pretty fun. Really cool to see.
Yeah.
The Brave and the Bold is the official Batman title, with Damian Wayne coming on to play Robin which is really, really exciting. So one of the various Robins that we've had. But this particular one is the son of Bruce and Talia al Ghul, as far as the comics go, right?
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how they tie that in. But that'd be a really exciting, I think, to see Robin done on big screen and Damian Wayne be the Robin in question.
Yeah, he's been a huge popular character in the last like 10 years, where like his introduction and then his connection to, you know, the League of Shadow and Batman's off and off lover, and he actually kills, he's an assassin. And then Batman finds out like, oh my God, you're my son. And so that's going to be crazy, because how old is Batman going to be? Was there Robins before Damian? And how does Damian and that dynamic, right, of father and son, like what is that? Like we never seen Batman really in a father role other than the cartoon. So to actually see that in live action, you know, that's gonna be one of the craziest ones. I can't wait to see how a trailer looks like. I can't even imagine that. That's some. It came out of left field, but I'm glad they're going for it. Raven the Bold.
Yeah. So those will be the two that I think I'm looking forward to the most: the Raven the Bold and the Lantern show. But everything else looks really good too. We're gonna get a Booster Gold TV series. The Booster Gold character I'm only kind of vaguely familiar with, but that should be kind of fun. Honestly,
that one's gonna probably be super funny.
Okay.
I'm very familiar with the character. This is the guy that it's literally a character who, if you had all the bells and whistles to look like a superhero, and then you go into this imposter of like, I am a superhero, like you're the ultimate fraud and you make money off of it. And people believe you become a celebrity. It's like so cheesy, but then, you know, that's pretty much how he is. It's gonna be interesting. And he's from the future, so they're gonna do some time travel.
Oh, very cool. That would, I mean, I guess the way you described it, if Gunn has a hand in writing the dialogue, I mean, we could get a lot of the same style humor as Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'm all for. So I think that would work out really good. And even what he did with the Suicide Squad as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But I guess maybe not as raunchy as that, but
yeah. And they did say, I mean, yeah, you said raunchy, so that kind of like made me remember some of these are going to be rated R, some of these are going to be PG, but they're all still the same universe.
Yeah.
So what do you think as we go down the list, like so far, what might be rated R?
From this, let me see. Going down the Waller show, I think has a good chance.
Yeah.
The Authority film, based on how you described it, I think that one has a good chance as well.
I agree on both that you just said, actually.
Let me think. Look at us here. I don't think they'll go with a rated R Batman movie. I just don't think they'll do that.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so either.
I know certain fans probably would love it if they did, but I just don't see them doing that.
I mean, if the Batman shows enough, you can get away with a lot of things without having to be rated R. So yeah, I think Batman will always be PG-13. That's okay. Or yeah, PG-13. I think that's a good spot for him.
Yeah. The Swamp Thing movie, we haven't touched on it yet, but I think that one would probably be R. In fact, I think there was a Swamp Thing movie back in the 80s that was R.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you remember seeing that, or have you ever seen it?
No, I don't think I've ever seen it before.
I've seen it, and I even had the toys, man.
Oh.
Dude, I had it all. Like, I used to have that with my Batman and the old school, when the Batman miniseries, they had the castle toy where you could open it up. Man, Swamp Thing was all up in there. So yeah, no, I think because that's a horror film, they're really gonna hit on the dark side of things. I think that one could be rated R. Doesn't need to be, but I think that's also because they're going horror. I think that's the opening for Justice League Dark.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be cool. As you mentioned before, I mean, there's a ton of other projects that they haven't announced yet that I guess maybe they're not ready to. There's been fan speculation that we might finally see Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy share a movie together in live action or a show.
I at this point, if we're getting Swamp Thing and Booster Gold, I think anything's possible. I agree. I think Poison Ivy will be a returning character for sure.
Yeah, and then last Supergirl, so Woman of Tomorrow. I guess this is based off of an existing comic series that ran last year. Gunn gave it a lot of high praise in that video that he released, but again, that's one I'm not really too familiar with, even though I do know the Supergirl character. So yeah,
I mean, they said that she's basically, I mean, the premise, I mean, going back when she first, was created was it's her and Kal-El, right? Her cousin and her family shoot her out to leave Krypton as well, but is diverted in the process, where Kal-El actually makes his destination to Earth. She gets thrown off a bit and arrives at a later time. So, but in this case, they said that she actually landed and got stuck on a piece of Krypton, and that blew off, and she watched the rest of her world get destroyed. Because she's already at an older age versus Superman was a baby. So she's an older cousin. So I wonder how they're going to explain that as the older cousin. And she's going to be, I'm sure, very jaded, seeing death. And how does she survive in space to make it to Earth? If that's where they go with it, it's going to be, that has really cool potential.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So everything they announce, I think, looks really, really cool. In fact, I mean, again, it's I'm a fan of James Gunn. I like the work that he's done, but again, like, I didn't like necessarily the way things were handled as far as like the transition goes. But as you said, I mean, you brought up some excellent points as to why it was maybe done that way. So I think this video probably went a good ways towards restoring fan faith for those who maybe kind of lost faith, but those who stood by him all the way. I mean, I think you're being rewarded. And it's nice to see that they're actually doing this 10-year project that we have down the pipeline. We planned that far in advance, which is really cool. So I wish them nothing but the best. I think they're going to have a lot of success. I think it's going to go well. And I don't think he's here to intentionally sabotage DC, even though there may be some crazy fans who think that that's the case, that he left Marvel just to do that.
Yeah, no, definitely. If anything, I think we're going to get, I mean, look at the variety that we're getting as it is.
Yeah.
And he didn't cancel two of the top movies in production, like the Batman Joker Part 2, which they released a teaser visual of the Joker getting a shave on in Arkham Asylum. So it's like these are quality movies, and he's all, no pun intended, gung ho for it. So
yeah. So it's going to be really exciting, really cool. Again, I'm more of a Marvel guy, but I mean, if we get good content for everybody to enjoy it, we all win. So that's, I'm wishing them nothing but the best. And
maybe when Superman comes out in 2 years, you start wearing a DC shirt. We'll see.
Yeah. Very cool, man. Very cool. So let's jump into some King of the Hill news.
Yeah.
So really, really excited that finally they announced that it is returning. I mean, again, we speculated on highly last year at Comic-Con when Mike Judge, the creator, said that he was hopeful that it was going to be returning, but it just kind of seems that it was a no-brainer to bring it back, considering how popular it was and how many new fans they can win over this time.
Oh yeah.
What are you, I mean, we touched on it last year when we did the recording for Comic-Con news, but I wanted to get more of your take, Eddie. What did King of the Hill mean to you when you watched it back in the day?
Oh man, when it first came out, right after The Simpsons, I remember the announcement, new show, King of the Hill, and like the whole like commercial for it. Like, I was like, okay, because remember it was The Simpsons on Sunday, and then King of the Hill popped up right after that. So that was like the whole bit. Like, okay, what's this show? So it's, they had the first episodes. I remember that first few months, I was the only one watching and liking King of the Hill. For me, the moment I saw, and granted, I was much younger, so I didn't know those were the creators of, oh my gosh, Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't know that. I was wondering, it passively, right? Like, I really like this animation, and because I was a big fan of Beavis and Butthead when I would catch it on MTV. I said MTV, so that just aged us. We just went back 30 years by me saying that. But I just love the dry humor. It was so random. Like, just them drinking to like Bobby and Hank and their dynamic. Peggy, she's a substitute teacher and she's like proud of it. And, like just her trying to like teach a whole language with her hardcore Texas accent was like, oh my God, like this show's hilarious. So, then Boomhauer and everyone else, right? All the secondary characters that are all part of it that just add on to it. It was like, this is so fresh. And over the years, just the popularity went from like, oh, I know a few people that watch it to like, everyone's watching it. That's like a show to watch. So I'm really happy that it's getting a second chance. Hulu with Disney Plus has been a big hit with their combined like app streaming and pricing. So a lot of people watch Hulu. So I know a whole new fan base will get exposed to King of the Hill. So it's really nice to like see it come back. I love that show.
So me too. I totally agree. I mean, I love the grounded humor of the show. Just the fact that they get involved in everyday occurrences, but it's just so funny the way it's done.
Yeah,
And I love just how flawed the characters are. So it makes them very
yeah,
human, very relatable, very egotistical. Some of them, in fact, like it's kind of funny that an underrated character on the show, I think, is actually Peggy Hill. The fact that
yeah.
she's so bad with her Spanish, but she refuses to believe that she's bad because she's so egotistical. If
Yeah.
I'm reminded of the episode when like she takes a field trip to Mexico, she
Oh
accidentally
my
brings a
God,
Mexican
yes.
girl home with her. She gets in trouble with the law for like potentially kidnapping, but
Yeah,
she
she was
would
a
rather go
coyote,
to
dude.
jail than admit that she can't speak Spanish.
Oh my gosh, dude. Yes, I remember that whole episode, man.
So yeah, this is so
Yeah.
many great ones to choose from. And then Dale Ribble, I mean, he steals the show every time he's on. So the comedy that comes out of Dale is really, really great.
I mean,
I'm curious though to see what they're going to potentially do. That two of the major cast members of the show, Brittany Murphy and Tom Petty, have both passed away, who
right.
did the voices of Luann and Lucky.
Mhm.
So it'll be interesting to see how they deal with that, because they King of the Hills never shied away from like dealing with like real life issues like that. You know, like
Right.
Hank Hill's dad, Cotton Hill, died eventually.
Right. Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, the things
God, I
like
remember
that.
that character. Yeah.
Yeah. So
With his
I'm
super
wondering if they
young
do,
wife or whatever.
yeah. I'm wondering if they're gonna do like a time jump where they move forward into the future, maybe 10 years or so that their daughter, I forget their daughter's name. That then maybe she's like a 10-year-old daughter and then the Hills take her in because her parents
Oh,
die.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, I wonder if
That's
they
a
would
cool
actually,
possibility.
yeah, like address that, the fact that because they died in real life, we're gonna say that
She just
Luann and
moved
Lucky
away
have
or something.
died, or maybe they could recast. I
Yeah.
prefer they don't recast,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
we'll have
like
to
maybe
just wait
she
and
just
see.
yeah, like she just moves away or something and
Yeah,
she's just somewhere else altogether. I did not think of that. That's a
yeah,
really cool one. To actually have another yes, you lose one female character, but you add one in the family, which is the daughter. I didn't
yeah,
think about that. That's a cool take. I
yeah.
definitely now I'm actually more excited if that happens because now you get like a whole new personality where it's new. We have no expectations. So we actually get to like get new in something that's an old comeback. So
Oh yeah.
that'd be pretty cool.
And then if were to do that time jump, say like 10 years or so, I was just kind of throwing out the number. So she would be like,
Yeah.
a small child, but that
Yeah.
would essentially mean that Bobby, Connie, and Joseph are like, finishing college. So it would be kind of funny to see that dynamic of like Hank and Bobby now, where Bobby maybe essentially is the exact same person still doing the weird, funny things he does. But
Yeah.
now he's like in his early 20s, which would be kind of
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. That'd be pretty funny. Honestly, I look forward to that. That and hope you get our favorite Native American involved and
Oh, yeah.
you
You,
know,
you can't do it without John Redcorn.
yeah, John Redford, man, dude, just everything about that, like that whole awkwardness is.
Mhm.
I hope that's all part of it too.
Yeah, me
Oh
too.
man,
Me too. So they haven't officially announced when it's coming back. I know with the cartoon shows, they have to go through a production process, so it might not be until sometime next year in 2024. But we're definitely getting it back, so that's good enough for me.
yeah, man. It gives me a reason to keep Hulu on my subscription list. So
Yeah. I find myself going back and rewatching old episodes all the time. Like I love the episode when they have to. Dale accidentally shoots a gun in the gun club, so he gets kicked out as the president. So they had to set up a fake mission for him, so the rebuild his confidence, so he won't be so
I
depressed, and he
remember
messes that up. So,
Oh, damn it, Bobby! Something's wrong with that boy.
oh, that's not very
That
good.
was like my favorite quote. He'd like do that like every other week, man.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
man,
so
I'm looking forward to it, man. I actually, now that you mentioned how you're watching them, I think once we find a day or like the official release date of them coming back, I think that month leading up, I'm gonna start watching some episodes. Just gotta get back in it,
yeah,
so that way it's all a little fresh in the mind.
awesome, man. Very good, very good. Let's go ahead and conclude with the movie trailer news for the Super Bowl. So
Yes,
the Super
sir.
Bowl,
Yes, sir.
always excited. I think it's always fun to get together with friends, watch the game, eat some yummy junk food, and then just watch the entertainment that unfolds. We do know, again, according to the website comicbook.com, that the Flash is going to get a trailer, which is really cool. So we can see that. The 10th Fast and the Furious movie, the Fast X, will also get a confirmed trailer. and Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania, which is a little unusual to me because it's already coming out next weekend. So I don't know if they, I guess maybe one last push to get people.
Yeah, a little TV spot or something from probably what I know they I haven't personally seen it because I like to watch the teaser and the first true trailer of a movie, and then I kind of ignore the rest to try to keep it fresh when I go in. But I know they just released a brand new one last week that really shows a lot more content of what the story is really going to be about with Kang and everything. So maybe it'll be like a little like a sizzle, like a quick 30-second this week don't get your tickets now kind of thing. So.
Yeah. Okay, very cool. Yeah, that'd be cool to see. And so comicbook.com, the website, was also speculating. These aren't confirmed, but speculating that we might see these trailers for the big game this coming Sunday. Super Mario Brothers.
Man, I hope so.
Oppenheimer. So the next
yes. Christopher Nolan film.
Christopher Nolan. Thank you. I was trying to.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So that'd be cool to see something more with that.
I'm so curious if that's good. I still think it's not real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Scream 6, Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, Transformers, Rise of the Beast, and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. I only just, when I started reading that article, I didn't realize that the next Mission Impossible was going to be a 2-part movie. So that should
I remember catching that like about a month or so ago. I guess this is his last run. So they're doing this big arc. And they're going to be released like a year apart or something like that.
Oh, okay, cool. So do any of those interest you? Are there any of those movies that you're looking forward to this year? Or is there anything you might think we might possibly see this coming Sunday?
No, I mean, this is like the first year of like, okay, we're not in COVID mentality anymore. You know what I mean? Because last year was like, let's just get out what we can, but so much production was held back. So now this year is going to be like a flurry of movies, right? So in general, I'm excited. I think Super Mario Brothers, I was so nervous because I'm still traumatized from the original one. It's like Voldemort in my head. Like, yes, it exists, but let's not talk about it. Let's not say it.
Yeah.
You know? So remember, this is Nintendo's second movie ever. They were so concerned with their content being shared from that experience. They've never licensed out to the studio since. So this is Nintendo's first movie comeback. So, and I think the success of Sonic, because Nintendo owns that one, I think that was their trial run. Do people like Sonic? Because if they don't like Sonic and what we put out there, maybe we shouldn't put out Mario, because that's our guy, that's our promo, that's our face of the company. So I'm looking forward to this. I loved the first trailer. I know we had a teaser, but then we had like a first trailer. I love everything about it. Alan and obviously Sean and my wife and then Daniel, another friend of ours. We're all gonna do like a Mario game day and just lead into that movie. So any trailer from this, looking forward to, man. I'm super excited. And The Flash, I think that one for sure. I know we got a unofficial teaser of it from the DC fandom, but it's been a long time. A lot more drama has happened. And now with these announcements of DC, what is the true reboot movie that we're supposed to see this summer? According to James Gunn, he did say, and it's not because I am the head of the studio, but this movie to me is the best superhero movie I've ever seen. So that's high praise. Outside of him, a lot of people that have been seeing the production, that Ezra Miller actually kills it. And Michael Keaton is phenomenal in this movie. So I'm really excited to see what those two are about. Those are my two big ones right there.
Oh, okay, very cool. Yeah.
What about you, man? Like, what are some of your movies? From what you might see this weekend? Like, what are you looking forward to the most?
Well, the Super Mario Brothers, I'm really excited to see. I mean, I know there's been some controversy with Chris Pratt's voice style. Like, it's not really quite the way people envision it, like the stereotypical like high-pitched Italian plumber like we hear in the games. But the trailers we've gotten, I thought have been excellent, and then I think the timing's just perfect to coincide with the launch of Nintendo Land, Super Nintendo Land at Universal Hollywood. So I think it's just For everybody who's listening, get ready for a huge influx of Nintendo and Super Mario stuff in the next couple of months.
100%.
So
mushroom heads everywhere.
Yeah. Oppenheimer is kind of interesting to me. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Christopher Nolan's movies. And in fact, this is going to be the first one since like his public divorce with Warner Brothers over the fallout they had.
That's right. He went to Universal, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Thanks. I totally forgot about that.
Yeah. For those who may not be aware, so when Tenet was released back in 2020, I mean, Christopher Nolan was pushing hard for the studio. Hey, we got to get this movie out. Whereas Warner Brothers wanted it on streaming, didn't want to go out because of the COVID lockdowns. But Nolan was insistent. In fact, I think the movie overall suffered. I mean, it didn't do its box office as well as they were hoping. But I guess there was a really public, backlash and, dispute between Nolan and the studio to the point where they ended their partnership over 15 years long, right? Or 20 years, however long it was.
He was like a team player for almost 20 years.
Yeah. And
for him to leave, that was a big deal. I mean, look at Dune. That was another big controversy. But so that's crazy. I'm glad you reminded me about that. Now I'm curious to see how much investment Universal and treatment they gave Nolan, because we'll see now how that goes. I'm looking forward to it. It looks super deep. That movie is super deep.
The cast looks really, really great too. Yeah. So we'll have to dive a little deeper on that. And his movies are always great. So I think we might see like a sizzle reel of like Disney Plus stuff. So like we might see some clips of like The Mandalorian season 3 and Ahsoka mashed in together with Secret Invasion and Loki season 2. Not for sure guarantee or confirm, but I think we might see something along those lines.
You know what? You're onto something, because all they have to do is like 45 seconds of just like 20 things that they're releasing, side shows outside of Marvel and Star Wars. So yeah, I can see that for sure, because everything, I mean, it starts with Mando in like 3 weeks. It's like right around the corner.
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
Just reminded me Mando's coming out. I keep thinking it's coming out like in May, but it's literally like around the corner.
That's what I was thinking initially too, like thinking maybe they want to push it back more towards Star Wars Day, but no, May 1st, is that right? Or
I think
on the date, but it's going to be coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, I think they're going to time it where it ends, and then it's Star Wars Day, and then they're going to probably have like now Ahsoka stuff or whatever, Maybe that's how they set it up.
Mm-hmm. But so for those curious, I mean, again, I don't know if it's official, but I mean, the way I kind of see it is that during the first and second quarter is when you tend to get the most eyeballs on the game itself. So a lot of these trailers are probably going to be then, but you'll get something in the third and fourth quarter as well. And then of course, as soon as it hits the airways, it's on the internet anyway. So
so you're going to see ratings drop after the first half.
But usually we see a huge spike with the halftime performance. And Rihanna, I think, is going to draw a big crowd in. So even though I'm not really a huge fan of her music, I think she'll draw a big crowd.
Yeah, first performance back in years. So looking forward to that.
So Super Bowl should be fun. Really cool. Anything else you want to discuss before we wrap up tonight?
No, I think we're able to. I mean, there's so much. I mean, we could have just delved into so much, but like it's so hard with so much content. Honestly, I'm glad we got to touch over everything. From Paradise Lost, that's the Game of Thrones style. Why it becomes Tim and Scare of only women, to Swamp Thing. Like people are gonna be like, what the hell? And I think that's gonna come out of nowhere, but in a good way. It's gonna be good stuff, man. This 23. This is a year of movies again. Finally. We can finally go back and nerd out and enjoy like Oppenheimer, like side like roles and stuff like that. So looking forward to it, man. Really excited.
Me too. Yeah. So always excited for the big game, excited for this cool entertainment content. It's going to be a cool year. It's going to be fun. Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, there's nothing else for tonight. We'll go ahead and wrap up. But Eddie, thank you again for joining me on this special episode. We'll be releasing on Thursday, the 9th. So I hope it didn't confuse my listeners too much. I didn't have a Tuesday episode, but just the way it goes with scheduling.
Now, always a pleasure, Albert. I love coming here, the discussions with you and then all your fellow guests. It's always fun to just talk around the campfire about whatever the topics are.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks again, Eddie. And you've been listening to the Casting for Fun podcast. Thanks, everybody.